So I have some screen shares I want to show you. The first set of screen shares is the Quorum network. And this is something that right now I'm running on my own server in the cloud. We can run a version of this that's shared where on different machines, and they don't necessarily have to be on the hosted on the cloud, but they need to be able to get to each other. We can basically have this blockchain shared amongst us, and this is the same technology that's used by Ethereum and smart contracts, and if you've heard of NFTs, this is all of that. If you think about that being a new kind of database, then Ethereum is just a public version of this database, and this is a private version. These are the same tools you would use to make payments with and you'll sort of see this within Ethereum or other similar systems, like the one that I use is called Polygon, which is a cheaper, faster version of Ethereum, but there's others. There's one, Avalanche, which we've looked at a demo of people using it. But again, instead of using the public Ethereum network, we're using a private version. So this is a private network that we can create amongst ourselves. That's the first thing I show you. And then the second thing is it's a peer-to-peer messaging system. And this uses this relatively new technology called WebRTC, which I think it's what Zoom uses. It's kind of the industry standard, but this would allow people using the software to connect to each other and send messages and send data without a third person in the middle, right? So really, these are trust systems. The first is this shared database that people can trust. And I think it's really important because we have the possibility of creating kind of a private token that you'd be able to monetize and sell. Again, because people can understand that you haven't changed any of the data. And then the second piece of this is this private communication system where people can understand that they can send data to each other, they can talk to each other without somebody stealing the information, and it's much easier to set up than systems in the past. In the past, you'd have to do a lot of back-end server stuff that this you don't have to do with this system. So there's two different things, and here we go. Okay, so this is just a WordPress site that I built, and just kind of some ideas. I know I've shown you this before. Some ideas for how that could work. And this is pretty standard stuff here. What's a little bit different is I have this login button, and of course that can be wherever. Okay, so here is the MetaMask signature request, and so in this uses the account on this machine itself. So MetaMask holds your identity here, so you're able to sign, and when you sign, it pops up in another window, and this is just sort of developer stuff that I do. Normally you don't see this, but that's the signature. And so with the message, the signature, and the address, you basically know that this is me. And then these are the transactions that I've done in the past using this system. And it lets you do more. So these are actually on the Digibyte network. and it's just hashes of things. So you could take a file or a medical record and um, just create a timestamp, basically, of it on this external network, and yeah, so this, and then this verifies information about it, right? This research token button. So this basically says who created it, when it was created, what we know about it. If there was a file kept on the server, then we would see that. And but all we really see is this transaction for this one. So that's kind of one solution. And then and I have a newer kind of web format that I'm playing around with, which looks different. But it's still, this is the sort of stuff that people are used to seeing. This can kind of advertise different services. And this is just another sort of solution. Now, normally when I work on stuff, it's in this very bare bones kind of, this is my starting place. And this points to yet a different ledger. This is Ethereum based. And in this situation, instead of just using this as a login, you can actually add things to it. So here's, for an example, you could add this data into the blockchain itself, and when you hit send, that's the signature request from before. Okay, so here's the payment. Now it says it's the Ethereum network, so we would actually need to change networks to make this work. And you have this Polygon is the one we would want to use. So we change to the Polygon network, and then that's what this system uses. So we could say send, and it pops up with this MetaMask login, and there's a way to replace the MetaMask with software, but the key is that's where your identity is, right? And so this is a transaction. We could send money, so you can use this as a, talk about a payment gateway. You can use this as a way to send Ethereum or any of these other currencies, Polygon, Avalanche. But not only could you send to a person, but you can also have this message. And I'm just going to reject this. The messages can be quite complex, and even this is an image I was working on, so I thought that might be a good icon or for collective ledgers. But that's just an example of one of the things that can be put into this ledger system. Now we have, so this is a public system, and then here is a private version of it. And of course, in the beginning phases, it looks even cruder, but this goes on to a ledger that I'm running right now. And then as we add more infrastructure, it can be shared amongst us. So everybody has a copy of this, but it's not public like this one. It's private. And then so for this one, you would change to, you'd have to change from Polygon to this network. And let's see. So this network, I'm calling it Zork. It was a game that I played when I was a kid, and again, this is completely private, completely run on our own servers. But you'll actually notice that your identity is the same. So the identity that you can use with Ethereum or Avalanche or Polygon or any of these public systems, you can also use on these private systems. That is, I think, really powerful. And I just added this account, and so you won't see any transactions that I've written before. What this is showing is is the the blockchain ledger, and if I say show empty blocks, it's actually running all the time. So every 2 minutes it creates it's a cut time, but that's time right now, or UTC time. So here we just see the ones with the transactions, and that's a lot easier to deal with. And if you look at one of the transactions, you can see quite a bit of information. So it shows who this is from, and this is the ID on my other system, and any transaction amount. So any amount of currency that you send, and the tokens here. You know, there's tokens that you created, and there's kind of the native token, and so right now I'm not requiring that you have any tokens to send something, and this is the message down here. This is actually a Lightning Network node, which has to do with Bitcoin, which is yet a different thing. But yeah, so in this version, you can send whatever message you want. You have to kind of create it here with whatever parameters. And again, you know, it's a base. So as we figure out how this technology can be useful, that's when you see something more specific as a way to enter things or read things back. Now, I understand this is all very generic, but if you send, you'll see this pops up, and we're now on this network. It says new address detected because my user here has never seen this one before. And you can actually look at the data. This is all the data that we're sending through the system. And if you say confirm, then it'll go through. And should see it over here. Yeah, so that shows just the details about the new transaction that happened. And again, this is kind of nerd stuff. It usually gets hidden. But and you'll see the block is much greater. The date, the timestamp is different, and then it just says test message, which is what we sent before. So this can be greatly expanded. You can do any sort of smart contracts. You could do any of the sort of tokenization that you see with, you know, on the Ethereum network. You could add all those smart contracts to this system too, to do all sorts of stuff. This is just kind of a basic introduction and a really simple way to make this technology accessible. And we're looking again back at the public version, and and of course it's the most developed. There's even, for example, there's a way to search. You can search through different transactions based on search terms and all sorts of things, upload images. But like I say, this is the public version that uses Polygon. This is the private version that we completely control ourselves and share the ledgers, so everybody has a copy. Right now there's 5 copies running on this one server. So we can have copies on different servers, and they talk to each other, and that's the consensus mechanism. All right, so this is a peer-to-peer chat system that is kind of interesting. And so I'm using my phone as one of the peers and the computer as the other one. I could do it all on the computer, but that would be kind of a weird test. Now, so this is kind of the receiver part. This is where you start, and it uses this ID number. So this would send that as a web link, so anybody with the link could be the other side of the conversation. And then this sends it as a QR code. So what I'm going to do here with my phone, I'm going to scan this this QR code right there and open up the website that it takes me to. So now, and then I need to, on the phone, click connect. So you see now it's using the camera from the phone, and we also, you notice over here it shows it's connected. If I send a message from one side, it shows up on the other side, and vice versa. You can send back and forth. And then also, because I have this camera, I can take a picture with this take photo button and then send that. And you see, it wasn't a great picture, but you see, let's see, let's do it again. You see, you can send images too. So the potential to send all sorts of files is kind of interesting here. And then again, you have the chat, and there's no third party in the middle, which is kind of interesting. It just uses JavaScript. In fact, instead of going to this website, somebody could have this just on their desktop computer and run it from there. So you can run this from your computer and connect to somebody else that's potentially running it on their computer, and then you know that there's nobody else in the mix. It would just be you two. So that's the demo. Thanks.